Hello, this is Wendy Bialis-Odell, the Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Educational Standards. I am here with Chris Rouleau, Coordinator of Curriculum, to provide you with an overview of work that has been completed this spring and what you can expect for next school year with regard to standards-based instruction and grading and support for teaching and learning. In this presentation, I will share information about the restructuring of support that will be provided to all teachers through the Curriculum, Instruction, and Educational Standards Department beginning next school year. I will also highlight changes that were made to the 2013-14 standards-based grading benchmarks based on feedback received from teachers. Finally, Chris and I will share information about the recent grade level meetings we conducted and the action plans to address many of the concerns teachers have expressed. You will learn what you can expect for next year with regard to new instructional materials and program changes. As you may know, the curriculum department will be restructured next year to better reflect the needs expressed by teachers and the nature of our integrated approach to providing support for standards-based instruction. Historically, our department has been structured around specific curriculum areas. Beginning next year, our structure will be aligned by level, elementary, and secondary. We no longer will have subject area curriculum specialists. Rather, we will have 8 staff development assessment specialists serving the needs of our sites. After budget reductions, we had budget capacity for 6 positions, and our plan was to have 3 positions assigned to elementary sites and 3 assigned to secondary sites. However, thanks to additional funding from Student Services, 2 additional positions were secured, and the curriculum department was able to hire 8 staff development assessment specialists, 4 for elementary and 4 for secondary. The staff development assessment specialist and the curriculum specialist positions are different. Our current positions serve all K-12 teachers in 1 or more content areas. The new staff development assessment specialists will be clustered around grade bands and assigned to specific sites, where they will support all teachers in all content areas. Their work will be focused on supporting teachers in implementing the curriculum, use of research-based instructional strategies, and assessment development. The specialists will work with each site's principal and staff development team to determine a staff development plan for the school year that aligns site and system staff development priorities. We know the needs of sites and departments vary. We believe that by assigning specialists to sites, we will be able to differentiate professional development in a manner that is meaningful to teachers. And by working collaboratively, the specialists will help share resources and effective instructional practices across content areas and schools. Please be assured that the program improvement process and the content-specific work will continue. Teacher leadership has historically been essential to the success of program improvement and will continue to play an important role. You can expect to see your site's staff development assessment specialist in your building on a regular basis. Our elementary specialists next year will be Robin Gonzalez, Shelley Drake, Tammy Provart, and Sarah Luby Morris. We look forward to working with you in our new structure. The second topic I want to share with you is around the standards-based grading benchmarks. On March 22nd, I sent to you a copy of the revised benchmarks for the 2013-14 school year, along with the standards-based grading continuous improvement plan. I would like to take just a few minutes to review the benchmark information with you. As you know, we have been working with a 3-year implementation plan for standards-based grading. However, based on teacher feedback, we made an adjustment to the 3-year implementation plan and added a 4th year. You will see in the newly revised benchmark document that next year, 2013-14, we will continue to work on current benchmarks without adding any new benchmarks. The specific benchmarks we will continue to work on include academic misconduct, assessments, formative feedback, multiple opportunities, and the 0 to 4 scale. This benchmark specifically relates to grading at the secondary level. We know, however, that through our assessment work, we will address concerns about better defining the elementary 1 through 4 scale as well. All of these benchmarks are highlighted in yellow on the benchmark document. There have also been some language changes to provide greater clarity, and those changes were highlighted in green. The third topic to discuss is feedback from the recent grade level meetings and the action plans to address many of the concerns teachers have expressed. We held meetings with teachers at each grade level, with attendees representing most sites at each meeting. Teachers expressed their needs in the areas of instructional materials, assessments, and other areas such as the desired report card revisions. In the meetings, we heard common themes across all grade levels. Teachers told us that our K-6 report cards need to be revised. Our assessments need to be revised or created. We need to check them for quality and align them across content areas as much as we can. Teachers expressed a desire to have all the assessments more aligned with our instructional materials and to make it all make sense and be manageable. We know that we have some gaps in instructional materials that need to be addressed, and we heard from every level that a clear scope and sequence for reading language arts is needed. We know that for elementary teachers, the curriculum cycle is in constant motion. As the state changes standards and we learn more about our learners and how to better differentiate instruction, we need to make changes, and those changes may not always align with the 7-year curriculum cycle. We are committed to responding to student needs and at the same time doing it in a way that is supportive of teachers. To that end, in the next several slides, Chris Rouleau will share specifics for your grade level about what you can expect for next year with regard to instructional materials, assessment development, and other curriculum needs.
Hello, third grade teachers. It's Chris Rouleau here. First of all, before I begin, I need to make a disclaimer. If any of you have been in a room with me, which many of you have, in the last couple of weeks, you know that I've been a little on the squeaky side. I've been this way for almost 5 weeks, and I was kind of hoping it might pass in time to create these videos. But in fact, here it is Thursday night. I waited to the last possible moment with hopes my voice would unsqueak, and it hasn't happened yet. So we're going with it as is. Hopefully, you'll be able to understand me, you'll be able to hear everything, and all the information will be clear. These videos, screencasts, will be posted on the new CIES website, which you'll hear about a little later, and I'll be creating a single document that will outline all this information as well. As Wendy's just described to you, as we conducted our grade level meetings over the last couple of weeks, we heard some definite themes. But in the next few slides, I'm going to share with you some grade level specific information, what we heard from third grade teachers as some specific needs, and our plans to move forward. But first, one thing we did hear from everyone that we will be acting on is revision to the report card. We have heard that we need revisions really in all areas so that we can create a more unified and clear report card that has parent-friendly language and really reflects clearly grade level learning. When we do that, we believe there will be fewer standards for you to mark, primarily because we're going to move toward using overall marks in several areas: science, social studies, health, art, and technology literacy. You'll give a single mark for each of those areas, rather than a mark for each reporting standard. We still plan to list the reporting standards on the report card based on your feedback, However, you won't be reporting individually on those. We also plan to return the use of the plus and minus along with the OSN marks for social skills and work habits. These revisions will be drafted by curriculum staff. We will bring them back to teachers before the end of the school year so you can give us feedback. We can make final revisions and have them submitted before the end of June so they're ready to go for next year. In addition to report card changes, there are also some content area changes you need to be aware of. In Reading Language Arts, we are going into our first year of adoption in the curriculum cycle. We know that there's work to be done and that there are materials that you and your students need. We've heard your requests for book room books, classroom libraries, and especially nonfiction texts that align with your science kits and your social studies units. At this point, while we take those needs very seriously, I'm not sure how much capital budget we will be able to allocate for those purchases. But please know, we understand it's a priority and we will do everything we can to get additional materials to you. Excuse me. Now, as we move forward, our adoption for next year will be in the area of writing and a new core writing program. We've heard for several years, but have been unable to address it in a systematic manner, that we needed to do something different for writing because writing, as outlined in Harcourt Trophies, was not getting the job done. We had a writing team that reviewed and made a recommendation of many different writing programs, and the team came forward and recommended that we adopt Benchmark Writers Workshop. For those of you who have attended Steve Dunn trainings over the last couple of years, it will feel somewhat familiar because Steve Dunn is one of the authors of the program. We know that different sites and different teachers have purchased materials on their own to fill the gap that we've had. But now we're in a position to do this system-wide, and Benchmark Writers Workshop is the program that we will use in all of our sites. Everyone will be trained in the fall. Another request that we've heard in the last 2 weeks, particularly from every grade level, is that we need a consistent scope and sequence for reading. Trophies was our scope and sequence 8 years ago. As our standards have changed and as we look at differentiating more and providing reading instruction in a variety of models, we know that we need to do some work to provide teachers with a clear picture of grade level curriculum expectations and a scope and sequence. We will be convening writing teams to do that work across individual grade levels and in a vertical articulated manner this summer. You also told us we need to do some work on assessments. Not only do we need to make them manageable, but we need to streamline, we need to revise both some assessments and rubrics and make sure that everyone is clear about really what things we really need to make sure we're doing and which ones really are optional. That will be worked this summer as well. Are you getting the sense it's going to be a busy summer already? It will be. In the area of math, there will be no change to our core instructional materials. We did hear, however, that especially in the primary and middle grades, the teachers would like some clarification around scope and sequence and standards alignment with our instructional materials. We've heard that teachers feel as though there's a lot in the materials that's not in their grade level standards. That is true because the Minnesota math standards are written as mastery standards. The difference, however, is there is a lot more content that students need to learn at each grade level so they are prepared to go on to future grade levels. So we cannot make decisions to leave out portions of instruction based on what appears in those mastery standards. We'll be doing some work to make that very clear for everyone. And again, in math, we know that work needs to be done on assessments. We heard a lot about the rubrics and the need to raise the rigor on many of the assessments and identify those which are really of high quality and those which need some additional work. In the area of science, third grade will not have any kit changes this year. The 3 kits you will use will be sound, structures of life, and sun, moon, and stars. Now I'll say, we've heard plenty from third grade teachers about the beloved crayfish. And we heard that there are at least a few of you who aren't really crazy about those little guys. But we also have heard that kids love structures of life, they love the unit, and they learn a ton. So we're committed to working with you to make sure that the materials management and the critter management around the structures of life kit is manageable. As an aside, 12 years ago, I worked in the district as a curriculum specialist when Structures of Life was brand new. The issues around crayfish really weren't any different 12 years ago, but we all agreed that it was one of the most powerful science learning experiences that our elementary students had. So we're committed to finding a way to have this be successful, not only for your students, but for you as well. Reporting standards for science have all been revised and they've been aligned with the kits. Assessments will be created that are also aligned with the kits and of course the standards, and again, done in a way that's manageable. And any gaps between our instructional materials and our standards will be addressed through summer writing. Social studies. This is an area where we have brand new standards from our state. We've known they were coming, but they weren't finalized until just 2 weeks ago. And we are finally glad that we can say we're moving forward. Sandra Day has been working with teachers, however, in preparation for this, with great anticipation that the standards would be adopted. We've had third grade teachers working on aligning our current instructional materials with the standards, and there is tremendous alignment. A new area for third grade, however, is ancient civilizations. We've had a unit written for our ancient civilizations standards, and I think you'll find that this content is going to be really engaging for our students. And again, with any gaps that have been identified by the teachers who have worked on this, we've identified them and we'll be addressing those over the summer. And finally, in the areas of art, health, technology, literacy, we heard clearly help us make it manageable. Not only the reporting standards, which we'll take care of through the report card, but also assessments, rubrics, and the expectations for how much instruction. We know that your time is limited. We know you're making choices, and we know that together we can come up with a plan that makes this doable for everyone. In summary, here's what you can look forward to next year. New Benchmark Writers Workshop materials, that fabulous new Ancient Civilizations unit in Social Studies, and by popular demand, a scope and sequence for reading language arts. You can look forward to revisions of the report card and assessments and rubrics, and some real alignment among core instructional materials, standards, assessments, and supplemental materials. What I mean by supplemental materials is that we realize that we may in the past have provided materials to you without making clear the connections between those supplemental materials and your core materials. And we need to not have everyone reinventing the wheel, quite frankly, and be able to say when you are teaching math and you need extensions, here's some materials you already have, and here's exactly how they can be used. Finally, you can look forward to fabulous support next year from our team of staff development assessment specialists and all of us in the curriculum department. We are committed to your success and the success of your students. We know that this is important work and that our collective commitment to improving and aligning our standards and instructional materials with assessments and reporting practices is critical for our students and for you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me squeak through these 12 minutes. And please, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Have a great rest of your workshop.